I think this is the first time I'm ever doing something like this.
I'm not gonna say yes or no if it's the first time I've done something like this. Well, with that in mind, I think we can start.
Okay.
So maybe you can tell me where you were born, your name.
Oh, okay. Welcome everyone, whoever is watching, and I hope you enjoyed my little opening on the piano. Just for the record, first of all, I'd like to say my name, pronouncing it correctly.
Sounds good.
That's been an issue all my life. My name is Cengiz Yaltkaya, and that's how it's pronounced. For those that are interested. Anyway, I was born in Istanbul, Turkey, December 14, 1947. However, I don't know what it was, with the regime at the time or something for the parents with their children and the military draft. It was very important. They always wanted to have a different date, birth date for their children, and for that reason, my legal birthday, like my passport, all my legal stuff says January 4, 1948. I guess my parents picked that date because they were married on January 4th, and I guess in 1945 or something. And that always bothered me because, everyone that looks at my driver's license go, oh, your birthday is January 4th. But no, it's December 14th. But, well, I have to live with it, and I did. Anyway, so I'd like to, since I'm talking about when and where I was born, I would like to introduce you to my mother first, who late in life got involved with puppetry, and she did great puppets as such. Is this good enough?
Yeah. I'll double check with this. That's great, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a picture of her, I guess way before I was born in Istanbul, and her sister was a very prominent artist, sculptor, painter in Istanbul back in the day. She's very well known, and we'll go to my dear old dad, and as you see, he has the same middle name as me, Refik. And this is a concert poster. He was a concert pianist. This is a concert poster from, I believe, 1936 in Greece, in Athens. And I brought that specially for my colleague, my friend Nikki Casillas, who's interviewing me right now, since he's of Greek descent. And you will see the writings in Greek. Like I said, it was a concert a poster of him in 1936.
Did you grow up listening to your dad play?
Yes, I did.
And he was playing all of, he wasn't doing jazz at all, he was just more...
Just strictly classical. And he was like a Chopin expert, especially. Well, I mean, even if I didn't want to listen to him, he was playing at the house all the time.
Exactly.
He was one of the founders of the Istanbul Conservatory. And he gave a lot of concerts, solo piano recitals, and he played with orchestras, symphonies. And he played in Eastern Europe, in Turkey, gave a lot of concerts.
So I don't know if you have it, but do you have any recordings of his? Does he have any?
No, but I have to find it. One time I forgot the I want to say WNEW, but it's not. That's a rock station. There was a New York Times station, public radio in New York, and a friend of his that he knew him from way back then, and I knew him too, had a program there. And what I did was I had a little recording that somebody had done. It was a reel-to-reel, and I was able to transfer it to some format. What it was, this was back in the mid 70s, and there were about 4 or 5 Chopin pieces, and there was a radio program. It was actually that he played. A lot of people heard it. In fact, I got a lot of calls from it. I put that together, and I have a cassette of it someplace, but I don't know. But I don't know whether I still have it, but it'll take me a while to find it. Yeah.
With impressive technical skill and sensitivity, Mr. Yaltkaya, who died in 1973, now plays for Chopin's Sonata in B-flat minor. Chopin's Sonata in B-flat minor, which was played by Emerefik Yaltkaya, whose sensitive touch is also evident in his rendition of the Etude No. 3, Opus 10 in E major by Chopin, which we hear now. Chopin's Etude No. 3, Tristesse, was performed by the Turkish virtuoso Yaltkaya in a special recording he made here in New York in 1971, about 2 years before his death.
Could you just maybe talk about, like, your father's, how he got into music? Was it something he wanted to do, or, like, where did his, do you know, maybe you can expand upon that, like, where his passion came from, and then how, I guess, he turned into education? Or maybe
actually, it's
was he like a child prodigy or something, or did he just work
no,
harder?
he was not a child prodigy, but he when he was young, his father fled the country, so he kind of like grew up without a father figure. For some reason, the mother was so protective over him that she didn't have a father, so she was raising all 4 kids by herself. And she really didn't like him going out playing with her friends and do sports activities. So that she was very protective over him, and he was taking piano lessons, and I guess he liked it. So he was telling me that instead of going out, and he wasn't really interested that much in sports activity, that kind of stuff. He says, well, instead of going out playing with my friends and do all this, I just stayed home and practiced, and I like doing it. And he started very early on, and he never stopped. And with the beginning of the conservatory, he was within a great community of musicians in Istanbul at the time, to a point where Bartok came to Istanbul to teach before he came to the United States, to teach for a little bit in a conservatory in Turkey, and he's Hungarian, but I think he's originally from Transylvania area, Romanian, Hungarian area, and he was he was very interested in particular rhythms in music, and he felt that the Turkish folklore music had those rhythms, and he came really to study, and he ended up teaching there, and then they were together for a short while, but he just kept practicing and getting concerts, and getting he had a lot of and a lot of his friends were composers, and he played well enough that when they wrote a piece, sonata or something like that, the only way they could hear was somebody had to play it, and they brought it to him, so he played their pieces, and there's a lot of pieces from that era that I have, music notations, pieces from the composers that are dedicated to him.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He also went to University of Cincinnati back in the day, when in fact I asked him once, Dad, did you have a girlfriend in the United States? He goes, I didn't say much, but and then he said, yeah, well, what did you guys do on the weekends? And he said the best thing everybody could do back then was go to speakeasies, and I was impressed, and they never got rated. After I was born, I guess he had to give up music, and in fact, later on in life, when I told him that I'd made my decision that I decided to become a professional musician, and he didn't really say anything. He just looked at me and he just kind of like walked out of the room. I didn't know what that meant back then, but I understand now. And then I went. I lived in Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, until I was 13 years old. At the age of 5, I entered the conservatory and started learning piano and solfege. And I remember being 5 years old, getting into this music class. All the kids having these plastic bowls, and we were learning meters like 2/4, 1, 2, 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 4/4, 1, 2, and it was like a weird way of playing basketball. and I started taking piano lessons. I had a piano teacher. I remember I had to have perfect positions on my hands. And what she would do is she would put a pencil on my wrist, and the left wrist, and I would play. And as I'm playing, the pencils had to stay there. And if any of the pencils fell, I got a little whack. And so it was mostly classical, children's stuff. And there was a lot of classical music in my house. He had a lot of musician friends coming in and out, but it was mostly classical. So when I was in the conservatory as a young kid, during that time, my mother would always suggest that my father should be interested in the opera, and he wasn't that interested. Hence, one day we all went to the opera. That was my first opera ever. I was very young. We saw The Barber of Seville, and I loved it. It was so comical, and it was so well done, and my father did too. So I guess following in his footsteps, being him being obviously my mentor, I kind of got into that habit too. In fact, later on in Geneva, when I was in high school, I had a job as an extra in an opera, and it was the master singers from Nuremberg, Wagner's opera, and I was part of the crowd scene with me and a bunch of other kids from school. But that's where I really started. I mean, I was a teenager by then, and I really got to hear the heavy orchestra. I was on the stage with the state opera of the city, and it was a great cast. And that's when I really heard the actual orchestrations, the music firsthand, because I was staring at the orchestra. Yeah, in the midst of all that, of course, I got to see my first jazz concerts in Istanbul was First, my mom took me to see Louis Armstrong. He was in town, and it was quite different. It was just I did have a hard time understanding it, I must admit, at that age. And then a few months later, Dizzy Gillespie showed up with his band, and I got to see him. It was exciting. I've had a hard time understanding, but I know there was something going on. It was exciting, and different. There was a lot of classical music in my house. He had a lot of musician friends coming in and out, but it was mostly classical. And I decided that I liked rock and roll. And then at that time, Elvis Presley came into the scene. And so I decided to, when I was about maybe 10 or 11, I joined this rock band that we had, but I was the youngest guy in the band, and there was a really good piano player in the band. So I was, I don't know what I was doing in that band. I think I had 2 drumsticks, and I was playing a clave behind the band. There was a guitar player, singer. We did a couple of gigs. We were all kids, Anyway, and then when I was 1960, when I was 13, my father, there was a coup in Turkey, a military coup, and my father was a forced retirement from his job. He was working for in a section of the government, and he got very upset. He got very upset about it. He thought it was really unfair, so he got really mad, and he got a job in Geneva, Switzerland. And one day he said, "Well, we're moving," and I said, "Well, which neighborhood?" He goes, "No, we're moving to Switzerland." I said, "Really? Wow." And when I was 13, I went to, I ended up moving to Geneva, Switzerland, and going to an international school there. And by then I had completely stopped playing, the piano. I just gave it up. I just didn't want to play classical music, and I wasn't really that advanced anyway. And during my high school years, of course, I started playing again. I had this group when I was about, I think, 14 or 15. It was this other guy played the piano, but he was just like me. He wasn't that good. So what we did was we had a band, and we played a 4-handed piano. I would take the top end and play just licks on C, and then the guy would have the bass line and somewhat of chords, and we had the drummer. So we had a trio, and we actually did a few gigs like that. And it looked, I think it looked pretty stupid, but that was it. That was the band, and then during that time, I just started getting just by ear. I just started getting better, playing, licks, and mostly in C and everything. And one day there was a jazz club in Geneva called, I think it was called Blue Note 4. This is about maybe 1962 or 63, somewhere around there, maybe 64, who knows, somewhere around there. And there was a South African band that came to play. They had an engagement for about a week. And it was I believe he played alto or tenor. His name was Chris McGregor. It was the Chris McGregor Quartet or Quintet from South Africa. And they were playing, and one night we were at the club, and my friends egged me on to go on stage to sit in with them. And I was so scared, and somehow I ended up on the piano. I think they did not have a piano player, but there was a piano on the stage. And we started playing something. I don't remember I must have blocked it out. I don't remember what we played, how we played, because I didn't know how to play any tunes or nothing. So I just, I sat on the piano. I moved my fingers as fast as they could possibly move. I just wanted to win that race. And, but I stayed the whole set with them, and nobody yelled at me, nobody threw me out, nobody beat me up. And it was kind of okay. I said, oh, well, okay, whatever. And during that time, I had come across quite a few musicians in Europe that were much older than me, and there was like this free jazz movement. Everything was free, and it was like avant-garde, free, there were no such thing as tunes, and I didn't even know. But so that meant I could play anything I wanted on the keyboard. I just could go nuts, and nobody complained. Nobody said. Everyone else was like me. I said, that's a concept. Anyway, so that was that. In 1967, I graduated from high school in Switzerland, and I had gotten accepted to NYU doing general business economics department. So I arrived in New York City in August of 1967, and I moved into a dormitory in Greenwich Village. It was the NYU downtown campus, and then I started going around, listening to people. I said, "Oh my God, these people really know how to play." Oh my God, uh-oh. And so for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know who told me that, how it got into my head, that I had a belief that if you wanted to play jazz, real jazz I called it, which means, a jazz musician, you had to be 30 and above. If you were less than that, no, you're not ready yet. Well, when I said to myself, well, I got time. I'm 19 years old. Take my time. Anyway, I met this guy in the dormitory. We're talking. We became friends. I said, guy's my age. And he says, what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm a jazz pianist. I said, really? Okay. Well, okay. And one day I heard him play. Oh my God, this guy could play. I mean, he was a full-fledged bebopper, And I'm going, wait a minute. There goes my theory. This guy's my age, Oh, something is wrong. Something is wrong. And I got very upset, actually. I got really, I said, well, I really want to become a jazz pianist. So what can I do? What can I do? And so I picked up Village Voice, found a teacher. I didn't know it could be taught. I had no idea, and this is about 1967, maybe 68. I found this teacher, and he said, I said, play me something. So I just, of course, I sat down. I just knew a C blues scale, and I just played that scale up and down as fast as I could. And he goes, yeah, well, you got some blues licks, but do you know any chords? I said, chords, what's that? And and he said, well, here's this. I'm going to show you some chords and harmony, but you have to write them out on a manuscript paper. That's the best way to learn. I started doing it, and tell you the truth, and I got really discouraged, and I was really bored. I just said, man, and I said to myself, you know what? This is just not going to happen for me. I really want to do it, but it's just too difficult. Maybe a year went by, and I started hearing people again. I'm going, oh my God. And I answered another ad, piano teacher. And this guy walked in, and he was the guy about my age, maybe a year older than me, And he said, yeah, well, whatever, I guess, some stuff. He goes, but I'll show you a few things. And this guy at the time, I guess it was very popular. I don't know if it's still today. I know he's got a lot of books called John Mehegan. And he had a lot of books out, and he was grouping his voicings as A's and B's. So that means, like for instance, if you wanted to play an A minor 7, the A was, the voicing on your left hand was C, E, G, B, and then if it was like a B, it was an inversion, G, B, C, E, and it was like, and all of a sudden I realized that, and it was kind of easier for me to do than the other teacher I had, and maybe I was more ready for it. And all of a sudden, I started hearing myself. I said, wait a minute, I'm kind of starting to sound like those guys that I've been hearing, And I didn't realize that, but I had no idea, but I was playing seventh chords, up and down the scale. And I started playing in different keys. And I stayed with this guy for about 2 years. And he said, well, I'm done, but you know what? I'll send you to another teacher that I know. And he sent me to a gentleman named Sir Roland Hanna. Oh, wow. Who was the pianist of course, he was a famous person himself, but he was also the pianist for the Thad Jones Mel Lewis band on, Monday nights or Thursday? I forgot what day it was. And so I went to see him. He goes, All right, what do you do? So I said, I know all my A's and B's. He goes, what? I know all my A's and B's, man. He goes, what are you talking about? Do you know where they're coming from? I said, I have no idea. You know, and in fact, at one point when I was learning at A's and B's, a singer came into the practice room in NYU. These two girls came in and they wanted me to read a sheet, and they said, well, it's a D minor 7. You know, I said, sure, I know how to play D minor 7, and with my right hand I played an F major 7 chord. For me, that was a D minor 7 because of the voicing. I was playing a D minor 7/9 without the bass note, and they're going, no. I'm going, what do you mean no? Yes, you know. So this is what, and Roland Hanna said, you know, we gotta regroup here, you know. And I stayed with Roland for about 2 years, and he taught me, you know, his first tune he taught me was All the Things You Are. And then we switched to Body and Soul, and he was trying to teach me how to play stride, and it was so hard. It was so hard, but I was practicing. Like a madman. I was doing everything he told me to do, and so I stayed with him, and he would take me along to Thad Jones' Melrose band every week, and it was like to observe what was going on, you know. And he was doing workshops. He used to take me along with him, and. In fact, one time, it was a community project. He took me to a place. There was a young, may he rest in peace, maybe 14, 16-year-old Hilton Ruiz was what I heard. I said, oh my God, this guy's so good, you know. And also I started studying at the New School at the time. The head of the jazz department was Jimi Jufrey. So I studied with him for a couple of years. He gave me a lot of pointers, and he was also a head of the jazz department, jazz ensemble in NYU. So I would see him. You know, I would go, hey Jimmy, like, can I maybe play in the band? He'd go, yeah, but you know, there are other players. You know, I said, which I knew, of course, you know, and so one of the places, of course, I used to see. You know, it was just like. I lived, you know, very near Bleecker Street in the village, so I would see all the jazz. I was at the Village Vanguard. It was Village Gate, top of the gate. I mean, I used to see Bill Evans probably 3-4 times a week. You know, it was just there all the time. You know, I saw a lot of it. There was another place that opened that was called Bradley's on University Place. And Bradley was the owner, and one of his best friends was Charlie Mingus. And they were there all the time. And there I saw Bobby Timmons, Cedar Walton, Joe Zawinul. It was just like a piano and bass club. That's all. There was no drums or anything. And I saw Hal Galpin there, you know, and I used to go there all the time. But one of the main clubs that I used to go, which has become kind of very famous now, was a club called Slugs. Slugs was on around between Avenue B and C off maybe 6th Street, and where it's like it's right now it's probably the most expensive area on the planet, you know. But it was like a scary area. If you took a cab, the cab would stop halfway through. They go, that's it. I'm not going any far. You're out of here. You walk the rest of the way. And people advised me literally to walk on the street in traffic. Not on the sidewalk, because somebody could pull you in and mug you, you know.
Oh, wow.
That's how, I mean, that was the word, you know. I started going there with friends of mine. This is still in the late 60s. See Lee Morgan. I see Lee Morgan there a lot. Oh, coming back to this other one story I forgot. Back in Geneva when I was in high school, one of the teachers said, next week we're going to have a jazz day. Everybody's going to bring a record, and we're going to play a jazz record. You know, I don't know what I had. I think I had "Unsquare Dance" by Dave Brubeck or something. You know, and this girl brought in. She was originally from New York City. She brought in a Yusef Latif record called "Live at Peps," Pips or Peps or something like that, and she played a cut from that record called Sister Mamie, and I just I said, this is, I lost my mind when I heard the tune. Yusuf was playing one of those exotic oriental double reeds, and it was just, the whole thing was just like, I had never heard anything like that before. It was very avant-garde, even though the free jazz I used to play in Europe and all that stuff, it was just, this was like another level for me. Anyway, so one day I'm looking at the Village Voice again, who's in Slugs this week? It says Yusuf Latif. Oh my God, I could see him. And I asked my friends, nobody was there. I said, I'll go by myself. So I went there. It was winter, and I remember a friend of mine from London School of Economics had given me his school scarf. It was a great looking scarf with great colors, So I was wearing that, and I walked into the club, and packed. So there was one chair at the bar, so I went to the bar and I ordered a gin and tonic, So I'm having, and this guy next to me just turns around and he goes, "Are you a schoolboy?" Okay, for my scarf, Anyway, so whatever, I chatted with him a little bit, and then I looked over, it was during their set break, and I realized the rhythm section had taken their break. They were sitting at a table. Yusuf wasn't there, because by then I knew what he looked like, so he wasn't there. So I figured, well, I had a couple of drinks, so I went up to the guys. I said, "Hey, hi, blah, 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 blah. Would you mind playing Sister Mamie?" I forget who the rhythm section was. I don't remember their names right now. Well, they were well-known players. The guy looked at me. He goes, "You have a Sister Mamie?" No. You want to play? Hey, this guy. No. And then the other guy goes, "No, I think that his girlfriend's name is Mamie." And everything. And I realized, these guys are making fun of me. I said, "Oh my God, this is not going well at all." So I said, whatever. I kind of like eased back, went to the bar. Now I'm thinking, should I leave now? But wait a minute, I want to hear Yusuf. Just ordered another drink, and all of a sudden I look up. There comes Yusuf from backstage. He's first, and the rest of the band comes. First tune, Sister Mamie. I loved it. Anyway, actually, it has a very interesting piano part. It's the two top notes of the piano, and the pianist just goes, boom, boom. And I kind of threw that in when I opened my opening here. That's how I finished it, because I just love that piece, and it's a very special story for me. I was involved in a rock band with 4 other guys, and we were called The Warm Underneath. That was the name of the band. And actually, we did a few college gigs, but recently they all got in touch with me. We all live in different places, but we are actually decided that we are going to meet up in New York this coming summer and cut 2 tracks and put it on YouTube, just for memories, And I'm kind of looking forward to that, because I've played with them years ago, way before I started anything professionally, and I graduated from NYU in 1971, and this is when I actually told my father, that I just really had to go into music. I mean, there was nothing, that's when that incident took place. So I got into Berklee in Boston. And oddly enough, Sir Roland and Jimi were, when I told them that this is what I was going to do, they were quite against it. In fact, I was kind of surprised, and they were really making me nervous, because they said that it would change my personality, and I would become like a certain type of player coming out of there. I said, wow. And in fact, they were quite upset, and I was, wow. It made me really, really uncomfortable, nervous, but I said, I gotta go. I mean, I just I'm not ready. And I went into Berklee, and that was, and of course, my first ensemble teacher was his first year teaching at Berklee was Gary Burton. and then it was Steve Swallow, and I studied there with Herb Pomeroy, the great big trumpet player, big band arranger. You know, honestly, had the best. He was really the main guy, and you know, I took all of his courses, and but my entrance to Berklee, it really added to injury. I was already insecure, but I even got more insecure because, sure, I would see a lot of good players in New York, but you know, I was at school and I was seeing these guys every day who just like, you know, I couldn't help it. I knew that I wasn't supposed to think that, but I mean, everybody's playing circles around me. You know, what's going on here? Something is wrong, and I'm trying to keep up. You know, the Gary Burton's ensemble was very difficult for me to play on those. You know, he was at that time he had just done his album with Keith Jarrett, and he was bringing in all those lead sheets that they played. You know, and it was just so difficult for me to do. You know. But there were other ensembles there were other, the other, ensembles that I was involved in, which weren't as difficult for me at the time. But literally, I was like, I'll never forget. I'm playing, in this classroom, and you know, I literally see Gary Burton in front of. He's got the blackboard. He's got the chord changes up on the blackboard, and he's looking at me. He's going, "We're here, we're here, we're here, we're here." I said, "Oh God, this is so embarrassing." So finally, I've been hearing his name. This piano teacher, who was only about a year older than me, named Charlie Banakis, a Greek fellow, a fellow Greek, yeah, so he was teaching privately. Apparently, he was a teacher at Berklee for a long time, and then it started his own practice, and he had like slew of he had a waiting list of like, I don't know, months, and if you missed the class or if you were late or something, he kicked you out and put you back on the waiting list, and he got the next guy in. You know, that's how popular he was. Well, I got to check him out. So called him up. It took a while, and then finally said, "Well, I got time. You know, come on." So so I went and met him. You know, this is my first, I guess, audition lesson. So he goes, "Oh, you know, who are you? What do you?" I told him, "Well, I lived in New York. You know, I played with Roland Hanna." And he goes, "Really? God," man, he was like so impressed. "Oh my God," he goes, "Play me something." I go, "Okay," and I played him "Autumn Leaves" in E minor. I remember. He goes, "Man, you started with Roland Hanna. You sang, you know, and you sound like this." So I went home so angry. I said, "I'm never going to see this guy again." I was so pissed. I couldn't sleep. I mean, I lost sleep, you know. I'm going, what am I going to, as the week, because I had another lesson set up for the following week. And I guess that was his tactic, you know. It was one of these old school tactics, you know. Mm-hmm. And I definitely fell for it. Oh, it really affected me. And by the time the day came, I wasn't going to show up. I said, let me go back there once more. And I did. And he was a completely different person. He was the nicest guy. And I studied with him. I studied with him like religiously for 2 years, and I just valued and worshipped his lessons. He was so good, and he was teaching me about bebop, and he was teaching me. And I had, of course, every time I saw a 2/5 coming up really fast at me at a chart, he goes, well, and he really isolated. He really showed me how to play through 2/5s and what to do, how to, he just knew what he was doing. Period. The guy was a guru. May he rest in peace. In fact, my latest CD, my trio CD, is dedicated to him. You'll see it in the inner sleeve. 1975, I graduated from Berklee. In 1976, I moved back to New York. And I really wanted to pursue playing there. And I was going to jam sessions and stuff and all that stuff. And I was seeing some of the people I knew from Berklee. Some of them became hugely, hugely famous jazz legends. there was a company called Atlantic Records in New York. It was originally Turkish based. The chairman was Turkish. There was a lot of Turks running it. And I went and spoke to them, and one of the a producer said, "Well, do you know how to arrange?" I go, "Yeah," and I did. I was a Herb Pomeroy graduate. He said, "Okay, well, I need help. There's a lot of stuff," and I became their staff. I became their employee. So bit by bit, I started arranging for records and co-producing little things here and there. and kind of like playing became like, I just said, well, I guess this is what it's meant to be. It's just not, that this is what's going to happen in my life. So I started working, for them, and did write a lot of arrangements, co-produced quite a few records, mostly rock. I think I only did one, maybe a couple of jazz albums, but there wasn't much jazz, in the company. There used to be, but not when I was there. And then very strongly came the disco era, which meant one beat and one chord, vamp, and they all wanted strings on top. And I was blessed. I mean, I was in such a high, power company that they had the best string section. I mean, these guys could play. Not sighted anything, but and so I started writing strings for these disco bands, and when I realized that if it was just one chord, one vamp, and I could just like vamp on it. Like I could write bebop lines, I could write any. I mean, I could write avant-garde lines and everything. Everything kind of worked, Whatever and when they were mixing, when they were engineering, whatever they did, they would edit it out or whatever. Then they would do their own thing. So that was a time I think in my career where I made the most money because I was working all the time. There was a lot of disco groups. And some of them were getting hits, And one day I'll never forget. I walked into the studio. There was this kid with this like little keyboard with had tapes on it and everything. I'd never seen anything like that. I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's a string ensemble." I said, "What do you mean?" Strings. He could only sustain it for so long. He had to group it after that. It was like a tape. But he was getting string sounds. And I tell you, within about that month, my phone stopped ringing. That was it, So By the way, does this sound, is this noise gonna interfere with?
It's a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's close enough, so
Oh, okay.
you
All
might
right.
have to just deal with it.
Well,
we'll
hey, you know, it's
improvise.
just like I'm doing a gig, and
It's
I'm
like
doing
a
a
gig
solo
right now.
piano gig, and somebody's in front, just laughing, yelling at me.
It's just the way the music goes.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, and then after that, I was still around with, I was getting really dissatisfied. It wasn't happening. I just said, I just, I wonder if I could play again. I mean, meanwhile, it had been about, it's been 12, 14 years. I haven't really touched the piano like playing was, arranging and stuff, but, I haven't played, I haven't done any gigs or nothing, playing wise. In New York, during the times when was involved with jingles and everything, I had started attending concerts and performances at BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and which I found really interesting. I got into it more and more, and there was so much stuff going on, and so different, so unique than the mainstream, And at one point, I was hired. This woman hired me. She had a book of poems, and she asked me if I could set them into music, and I did. And I played it for her. She really liked it, and she had a friend, a director, who was one of the directors at Actor Studio in New York. And they wanted to do a project for these actors from the Actor Studio who had fear of singing. They were great actors, but they couldn't sing. So we had to put a show together, and it was really hard, man. It really was, because I had to rehearse with them. I had to teach them the songs. And we did, it was a big cast. It was about 8, 9 people, The acting was great, but the singing, and it was just piano and vocal. And one guy was literally tone deaf. I don't know, should I say clinically? I don't know, but tone deaf. And one of the shows that I did, and I had to write a song for him. He had to sing, and none of them worked. So I wrote a song for him as close to as Happy Birthday I could get. And it wasn't Happy Birthday, but close. So I figured, must sing. And long hours, he got it. And the next rehearsal, it was gone. It was like nothing happened. So it was a lot of hard work, but we put the show on, and we showed it downtown New York. And it was fun. It was good. Anyway, and then after that, I was still around with, I was getting really dissatisfied. It wasn't happening. I just said, I just, I wonder if I could play again. I mean, meanwhile, it had been about, it's been 12, 14 years. I haven't really touched the piano like playing was, arranging and stuff, but, I haven't played, I haven't done any gigs or nothing, playing wise. I was going through to a lot of theater in New York. I was really taking advantage of the art scene of New York, and I was following a lot of things. And I really got interested in musical theater. And there was this organization called the BMI Lehman Engel Musical Theater Workshop at the BMI building on 57th Street. And I decided to audition for them. And it was a really tough room, and I didn't get in. And I was very upset. And then I started working with this woman. I answered an ad, and we wrote this kind of show, a few songs, and she really insisted that I would go do the audition again. I kind of didn't want to, because I was burnt by the whole thing. So I went back there and did the audition. And one guy who was running the first year, who was an excellent pianist, later on, of course, we became friends. He came up to me after the audition and said, listen, I've seen you here before, but if when you get the letter, regardless of whether yay or nay, give me a call. Here's my number. I said, okay. So I got another rejection letter. So I called this guy up immediately. He says, listen, what I can offer you is, you played pretty good. There's something going on. You cannot participate in the group, but I'm allowed to bring one auditor into the class, into the workshop for a year. And you can come. You can't participate. You can't see anybody. You can observe what's going on. I said, gladly. So I went there for a year, and it was just this phenomenal group of talent. I mean, unbelievable. They were presenting. They were working. They put you together with lyricists, and And I said, "Oh my God, no wonder." I really learned a lot during that year. And what happened was I became friends with some of them, and one woman said, who was a cabaret singer anyway, but she was also a lyricist. She said, "Look, let's write 3 songs, and you'll do the audition again, and I'll come and sing the stuff, and you play." I said, "Okay." I was so nervous about playing, and we did it. Of course, I got in, and I've done quite a few shows there, and that's a really difficult venue to get through. But I mean, I've really learned a different approach to just jazz playing and classical music, completely different technique, and working with lyricists. It was different than what I was used to, and I became a lifetime member. Of course, I had to stop when I had to stop that when I came to California.
First I'll take your hand in mine and lead you to the floor, and lift you with a lightness you have never felt before. My arms will close around you as we start, and the touch of you is in my heart. And there'll be music, beautiful, beautiful music, and maybe the song will draw us close. If by chance you will dance with me.
Take me to another place and let me fall away. I'll reach out for your shoulder as we start to turn and sway. Your arms will close around me as we glide, and your arms are there with me inside.
A visionary from Kashmir and a wealthy Hindu prince met a missionary from Tangier who hasn't been here since. What made it a mind bender? It's one you had to see. They were each a different gender and they all were after me. The sound last night was a band to hear. We applauded very much, and we found a sight in a chandelier, a man we thought was Dutch. He's the leader of a nation for the peace talks here in town, so we gave him an ovation and a crane to get him down. Come and join us, the evening is fine.
The smells along the street are enough to make you ill. If I eat the food here, it will be against my will. And coming into town is just like visiting a still. Sam Marquette, it's a thrill.
What she needs is a real man to hold her in the dark. She'll cling to me when her world goes so wrong. What she needs is this man to love her all her life. I'll stand with her and be there all along. A woman like her is a one-time find, mind and heart and soul. A woman like her, thoughts we knew her. We should have told her how she would live inside my heart.
Ah, yes.
before that, I also ran. What happened was I also ran into a friend of mine who was playing in at the winter, I think Wintergreen Theater. The original where Cats was being performed. So I became a sub for the third synthesizer of Cats, and so it was really good because gained a lot. Not only that I was playing, but the other problem was I was not used to working with a conductor. You know, I'm used to the drum beat or the click track. You know, and so I played a few times there. You know, and started building a little bit of confidence. I said, well, you know, I haven't played it so long. You know, but I really practiced that part. The good part was I was living near Times Square in New York, and theater was walking distance from me, and I could go in the afternoons. We had access to with the earphones practice the score. You know, your part. You know, and I did that every day. You know. And another thing I started doing was they're doing jingles. I wasn't playing on them, but I was hired by a jingle house, and I was doing jingles there. And I got a few in there, but that's a tough business, especially at the day in New York. But I realized that the professional studio jingle players, they really know where 10 seconds is, where 30 seconds is. I mean, you were playing something, 10 seconds will stop. Even though if you wrote more on the sheet, then you know that's it. You know, you can't. It's just like they had it down. You know, and also I started. Another thing I did was I became partners with this guy. He was like a producer. And this is all outside from the record company, and I was already out of the record company anyway. I started scoring slasher films, you know, and I did about 5-6 features, you know, and so the last few of them was on a synclavier where there was a low budget, where they couldn't hire any musicians, so it was so easy. I could just like play all these parts, you know, and it was so easy. The screen was there. If it didn't go well, I would do it again, you know. So there's my film score, you know, and of course none of the films went anywhere. You know, I don't think. Some of them ended up on cable. You know, actually all of them ended up on cable. When I decided to move to LA, which now we're in 1995, I said, well, I'm going to become a film composer. This is it. I made up my mind. So I came here, and of course, not only I can't find any work, I can't even get an interview with anybody. So I said, well, what do I do? Well, let me go back down into basics. So I went to USC, UCLA. I also had a film with I had already done back when I was in New York. I was coming back and forth to LA. I did a final project of a guy that became very famous director for AFI. So I did a score for him. I had done, but for me, nothing happened. I mean, so I started doing AFI, USC, UCLA. All these students. Their little 5-minute films team, thinking that, well, maybe, and it was just I was just wasting my time. I was going, I was doing temp jobs, to survive. But while I was during the times when I was in LA, and especially in the beginning, I was obviously I had so much theater background. I was coming from a lot of music theater background that I answered these ads in there was a magazine called a trade magazine called the Dramalog at the time. It doesn't exist anymore. It came out once a week. So I answered an ad. They were looking for a musical director for a musical play, and I had a meeting, and I started working with them, and we did 2 shows, and one of the playwrights was also a kind of like a stand-up comic and warm-up guy, and he worked in sitcoms on television, big sitcoms. So he decided to hire me, and my job was I would while he was being while the sitcom was on a break, and he was performing, he was doing his bit. I was planted in the audience. I had a tiny little keyboard, and I had it on my lap, but that keyboard was going through the house system. I mean I touched it. It was loud. This was only during the breaks, so we had a little routine, and it was always packed, and with the audience, and the only people that knew that I was there was the people in front of me, on the side of me, and behind me, and the rest of the people didn't know. So we were all on cue, and nobody really knew how this was happening, what was going on. We would say something, I would play something. It was all arranged, And one day, one of the shows, I was told to go up. It was like a little area, booth area, isolated, but I could see the stage and do it from there. And there was no lights, so because the people didn't want to see me. All of a sudden, right before the show starts, one of the producers comes up to me and says, we have a guest star on the show tonight, and she is a new star, either Miss Saigon or Phantom or something on Broadway. She's gonna be featured on the sitcom today. We'd like you to do a song with her, and please go to her trailer and such block and arrange something. I go, okay, So I find her. I knock on her door. She opens the door. I said, well, any particular song you want to do so we're prepared? She goes, no, I'm not prepared. Okay, well, what would you like to do? She goes, I don't know. I don't want to do this. I said, well, they want you to do it. I mean, I don't care. She goes, hold on. She gives me the full score, orchestral score of Phantom of the Opera. And I go, are you kidding? And she slams the door. So I said, oh my God. I go back and I'm opening it up. So I figure, well, she's going to start in the beginning, whatever. Now, I didn't have a light. The keyboard is like this, and it's loud. And there was a flashlight. I literally put the flashlight in my mouth so I could look at the score. And now I figured, well, I'll have her right next to me so we can talk to each other, all this stuff. So she comes up. I go, well, take the microphone, stay here. And the producer comes and goes, no. She's not going to stand there. This is a performance. She's going to go down to the stage. And this is during the break, of course. And so she goes down, and you have to realize that there's about 200 people between us in the road. That's the audience. And okay, so I'll put it up. There's something intro, so I'm kind of like sight reading this thing, playing. And I'm looking at her. She's just staring at me. And I'm playing. Nothing. And I hear her go, "That's not where I want to start, piano man." So I go, "Well, where do you want to start?" She goes, "What? Where do you want to start? What?" And I realize I don't have a microphone. She can't really hear me. So I get up, I go, "Where do you want me to start?" And then meanwhile, while this is going on, I see about 200 heads going. We're going back and forth. She tells me something, a lyric, and I'm just looking. Luckily in the score, they're the lyrics. So lo and behold, actually find a spot, and there is a little intro. Whew. I start playing it, nothing. I play it again a little slower, and she starts singing, and she's good, you know. And oh my God, we're playing. There is a sign. I take the sign. I go to the coda, and we're actually doing this, you know. I'm like a sweat's coming out of my forehead, and I got the flashlight in my mouth, and so we go to the coda, and there's like maybe 2-3 fermatas back to back. We take the first fermata, second fermata, and it's like the last note she's got to sing, and I got to play a chord at the end. And I hear a clunk, and I look at her, and she throws the microphone down. She goes, "I don't want to do this. One last note, come on." And I don't know whether that was enough for her, but people clapped. We did like 99% of the song, so nobody seemed to mind. Everybody had fun. I said, "All right, I guess it's just me." It must be. In one of the sitcoms, this was another one, on the stage, there was, the plot was that it was a battle of the bands. They had 3 bands on the stage and the actors in the middle. They were talking about their youth and all that stuff. And during the break, and all three bands had keyboards. So I'm there, and we're waiting. And usually during the break, when the show started, I shut everything off just in case, because it goes on the show and that's a disaster, So, and I put it on during the break, and one of the guys played something, so I played something too. And he's looking around. They don't know I'm there. And then they're looking at each other from the other band. Another guy plays something, and then another guy plays something, and I started my upmanship with them, They're playing a lick, I figure I'm going to do a better lick, everything. And they're just going crazy. They don't know where it's coming from. They have no idea what's going on. And I thought it was hilarious. I had such a good time. That was it. The show was on a Friday. Monday morning, I get a call from the show. I'm fired. Because I interfered with the people on the stage. I'm an extra on the side. I'm the side guy, only for breaks. This was during the break. But I still had a good time. It was funny. Too bad I lost the gig. It paid well, but. And one day, I was at a party, and there was a piano. I just played, Then again, I'm still really not playing, I played a few things that I remember from Berklee days, And this woman said, "Hey, I have a friend that's a singer. I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give her your number." And I said, "Okay." And so she called. She said that she was going to sing at this open mic place, and she really didn't like the piano player there. And if I would come down and do a couple of songs with her, I said, "Okay." And she took me down to a place on Sweetser and 3rd around Sweetser called Masquers Dinner Theater Cabaret, and whom I became with the owner I became very, very good friends with to this day. And he has, over the years, become a singer, and I've been there from the word get-go with him. And we're still working today together. In fact, we have a CD out and everything. But, and he said, he had 2 shows, and I was playing between 2 shows, solo piano, intermission music, so to speak, and at the cabaret.
Memories like the corners of my mind, misty watercolor memories the way we were. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Strangers in the night, exchanging glances, wandering in the night. What were the chances we'd be sharing love before the night was through? Something in your eyes was so inviting. Something in your smile was so exciting. Something in my heart told me I must have you. Strangers in the night, two lonely people, we were strangers in the night. Up to the moment when we said our first hello, how little did we know love was just a glance away, a warm embracing dance away. Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, men have named you. You're so like the lady with the mystic smile. Is it only 'cause you're lonely they have blamed you for that Mona Lisa strangeness in your smile? Beyond a doubt, my heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I go sailing, 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 sailing.
Je me fais tourner la tête. Mon manège à moi, c'est toi. Je suis toujours à la fête. Quand tu me prends dans tes bras, je ferai le tour du monde. T'en tournerai pas plus que ça. La terre n'est pas assez ronde pour m'étourdir autant que toi. Comme on est bien tous les deux, quand on est ensemble nous deux. Quelle vie on a tous les deux, quand on s'aime comme nous deux. Avec mes souvenirs, j'ai allumé le feu. Mes chagrins, mes plaisirs, je n'ai plus besoin de balayer les amours avec leurs traits moroses, balayer pour toujours. Je repars à zéro. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien, ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal. Tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, j'attendrai le jour et plus finir. Un grand bonheur qui prend sa place. Des ennuis, des chagrins se passent. Heureux, heureux à mourir. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose.
This was during my period when I did Happiness. It's just a thing called Joe. That's Cabin in the Sky. Would you play for me, Cengiz? They say that happiness is just a thing called Joe. He's got a smile that makes the lilac want to grow. And the way that makes the angels heave a sigh when they know my little Joe is passing by. It takes me back. Down in Georgia, got a dance that's new. It's simple, easy to do. Come shake that thing, shake that thing. I'm getting sick and tired of telling you to shake that thing. Ain't no chance to go bleaching weed. All you got to do is one thing, shake that thing, shake that thing. I'm getting sick and tired of telling you to shake that thing. Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere. Stormy weather, can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time. Since you went away, the blues came in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray that my Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more.
I love you. Okay, here we go. So with again the initial, let's do it. Woo! Yeah. If you explain my way, my life is a highway that's too bad. Get your kicks, how do you seem to say?
All of my blues, they're yarmulke, yeah. Take it, boys. of wine from my sharp blues cup, but don't step on my blue suede yarmulke. You can do anything but stay off of my blue suede yarmulke. Yeah, blue, 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 blue. Well, I dated a Buddhist girl. You know her eyes were on a slant. I said, let's do it like they do in Beijing. She says, let's about a Buddha, I can't. Little shiksa, don't you? Little shiksa, don't you? Don't you kiss me once or twice? Very, very nothing wrong. Little shiksa, don't you do what the other shiksa's done? My soul, what's wrong with me? I'm at a shiksa and I'm down on my knee. Go buy retail, trade on a bun, I'm in love. I'm almost sugared up, Oh yeah. My hands are shaky and my knees are weak. The film straps between my teeth. I'm diving in schmuckus, should I give her up? I'm in love, I'm almost sugared up, Oh yeah. I'm feeling fine. A chapel in Vegas on my mind. Walking down that aisle side by side. We're gonna be a married man, Elvis rabbi. Will Lord bathe my soul. What's wrong with me? Soon I'll be trimming that Christmas tree. Sitting like a choir boy on the priestly. I'm in love, I'm almost sugared up, Oh yeah.
Love me, say you do. Let me fly away with you. For my love is like the wind, and wild is the wind. Give me more than one caress. Satisfy this hungriness. Let the wind blow through your heart, for wild is the wind.
One day, I'll never forget, there was a couple of there was a jazz quartet there, and I listened to them. I was saying, and a few weeks later, that quartet was back, but the piano player didn't show up. And the guy remembered me from the interview. He said, "Can you play?" I said, "Why not?" And luckily, they were doing kind of easy tunes. I think Blue Bossa, Footprints, and things like that. And I played, and I realized that the players, there were few horn players, and the bass player, they were kind of very complimentary towards me. And I said, okay. So when I went home, I got a call from them for a gig. I said, okay, I tried musical theater, I tried this, and nobody calls me for anything. I have to go, and then I get a call. This is a luxury, really, So I went in and did the gig with them, and then I started building more confidence. And I've always been a union. I was local 802. I had to resign and transfer over to local 47 when I moved here. So in the old union, local 47, this trumpet player said he was interested in playing jazz and getting together with people, blah blah. I answered him and said, all right, let's get together one day, and and there was a quartet there, and we played, and it was pretty horrible. I mean, all levels. And the guy who organized it said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, all right. But a couple of other guys said, well, hey, listen. Well, one guy ran up to me and said, listen, can you come back next Sunday? I'll get all the players, Okay, So I kept going back there, and I stayed there. It got better, worse, but they were all different players coming in, and I realized that everybody was, I was giving cards out to everybody, and all of a sudden I started working, and playing, and I wasn't practicing, but it got to a point where I was playing so much that I was practicing while I was playing. I had enough. I guess I retained enough. I had enough background that I retained, in whatever I practiced back in the day. Because in Berklee, I used to practice for hours. I did nothing else, and then I met this guy through that, one of the horn players, a vibraphone player, and I joined his group. And this guy was he was a go-getter. He was a good businessman as well. When I met him, I realized that particular year I had done like 206 gigs. Not all with him, but close.
Wow.
I said, uh-oh, I guess this is working out. We just went the whole cycle. I said, I guess that's what I set out to do to begin with, And after all this, and meanwhile, I'm in my late 40s. I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm starting out. and I did a CD with them. It's a duet CD, and they're all my compositions. And we went all over Eastern Europe, Morocco, Cuba. I traveled with them, and sometimes with the band. Sometimes we would pick up players, local players from there. Some of my other gigs have been churches, a lot of churches, and I'll never forget the very first church gig. It was like a Sunday mass. It was a Catholic. It was like a really popular. I mean, it was packed, and the priest was dressed. The priest was dressed like the Pope, and I'm going. I had some help, but I was going. Well, I don't exactly know when to play, when not to play. I don't know anything about a mass, And oh, don't worry, we'll tell you. And so I start playing and everything. The sermon starts and everything, and the priest kind of looks at me and it goes, play something. I said, what do you want to play? Play something. I said, okay. This is my first gig at a church. So I had a big keyboard, good keyboard. I started playing a lick from the top of the keyboard, a blues lick, as fast as I could, all the way down to the bottom. And the priest looked at me, and the guys looked at me, and the priest looks at me. I said, couldn't believe it. He goes, can you do that again? This is in the middle of the night. I go, sure. This time I got it from the bottom and flashed it to the top. And then he took that, he incorporated it in his sermon, And that, which, later on, I worked a lot in that church, and that priest got me so many gigs, and we had a good relationship, and it got to a point where when he wanted me to play, he just kind of looked over to me and he winked, oh, my cue, and then he'd look again, oh, stop, So that was a lot of fun. That lasted for a while, actually. I had a good time there. And one day he asked me for my card. He didn't know my name. I gave him my card. He looked at my name. And he knew. He kind of he gave it to one of his assistants. And every time he needed me, I would get a call from one of his assistants, and he would refer to me as, get that Italian guy with the beard. and first I didn't know what it was. I said, oh, it's got to be me. Get that Italian guy with the beard. Another funny incident was this DJ. I met this DJ from Tahiti, and he was in L.A. and he had my stuff. He said he was playing some of my stuff on the radio in Tahiti. He was a French guy, and he came to some of my gigs in L.A. and stuff, and one day when he was in L.A., he called me up. He said he's got really two favorite piano players in L.A. and I knew the other guy, and I always heard about him. I never had we played with common bass players and drummers, but I'd never met him. I said, great. Because listen, why don't you come to the farmers market on such and such day? We'll have lunch. It's on me. I want to put you two together. I said, great. And I'm getting ready. A day before, I get a call, paying good money for a bris in Beverly Hills, and they got a clarinet player, and we're gonna play some, the Jewish music and stuff. And I called him up. I said, listen, I really wanted this. I apologize, but I got to take the gig. And we set a time. I said, wait a minute, I got the hours. What I can do is, I can come and meet you for coffee and dessert, because that I can make. It's sure, okay. I did the gig, drove to the farmer's market, and they're there. And I meet the guy, great guy, the piano player. So I said, you're not going to believe where I just played. I said, I played at a bris. It was the first time I ever done that. And he goes, I can top that. I go, try me. And he tells me the story. He had a gig with a big band in Santa Barbara, and they all went there. It was a huge party. There was a tent, and they're set up, except the odd thing was, when they realized immediately, everybody's back in the band was to the audience. They faced a big lawn, and they set up the time. They were about to start playing. The host comes and goes, I want you guys to play Happy Birthday. So they do. While playing Happy Birthday, a horse comes out, starts running the lawn. This event was a birthday party for a horse. And I said, you win. Yeah. One time during the Christmas time, I had a solo piano gig. It was an afternoon gig at I think downtown. I think it was called California Club. It's one of those downtown rooms where there are a lot of rooms, and there are a lot of parties going on simultaneously. And this guy called me up and said, can you play it? I said, sure, yeah, from 1 to 3, whatever it was. And I said, is there a piano there? Well, call this woman, they'll arrange it for you. So I called up this woman who was in charge. She said, well, what kind of piano would you like? I said, she goes, I can give you electric, baby grand, Yamaha, I said, sure, yeah, great, So I figured I'd get there a little early. My friend is a big shot in this company, and I'll use a fictitious name. We'll just say that his name is John Doe. but anyway, so I arrive at the place. I go, what room is John Doe's party? They tell me, go up to the second floor. I said, and I'm there early because I really want to impress him. I want to play something as he's entering, just to his own party. And so I go to the front of the room. This is the John. They're getting ready. They're gonna go. Yeah, sure. This is the John Doe's party. Sure, great. And there's no piano. So who do I call? He says, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, John Doe's. Yeah, sure. I'll send the piano down. The piano comes. I set up and everything, and I start playing. The guests start slowly arriving one by one. I'm playing, and the room's getting pretty full, and my friend's not there. And I said, and then they all sit down. An elderly gentleman comes up and goes, very nice, very nice. Oh, thank you. They all sit down. There's one empty chair, and they're saying they can't start without. I said, well, man. My boy is really screwing up his own party. It's late. So I'm playing, and then finally, the guy, taps on the glass, goes, well, blah blah blah, welcome, this and that. He said a couple of things that was weird, and they start, and I'm playing. Something just didn't feel right. So I leaned over to the woman that was closest to me. I said, is this such and such and such company? They go, no. This is a pharmaceutical company of blah, 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 blah. Well, I said, well, I thought it was supposed to be John Doe's party. She goes, it is John Doe's party. What do you mean? He goes, that's John Doe over there. It was the guy. It was the guy who's got this exact same name. And I was so freaked out. I just ran up to him. I said, "You're not John Doe." and then he goes, "I beg your pardon? Not only I am, but I happen to own this company." So I just tear out of that room, and I'm looking at down the hallway. I see my guy, and he's looking at me coming. Meanwhile, I'm 45 minutes late to this gig, and he's going. And I go, "You're not going to believe this." And I tell him, he goes, yeah, musicians, yeah. I heard a lot of this, but this one is really good. No, man, there's a guy. I don't think to this day he believes me. So anyway, the funny thing was, after I finished this gig, I'm coming out, and it was place was clearing out, and one of the ushers or waiters said to me, "Oh, you know what? Go downstairs to the kitchen, go through this, because this way it's an easier access to the parking garage, so you'll get there, you get your car easier." I said, "Great." So I followed my directions. I take the elevator, and I walk into this kitchen dining area. It was all for the employees. All the waiters and waitresses were having their lunch, after they finished work. The minute I walked in, the entire place was they all knew what happened. So that was a memorable gig for me. Anyway, the other one other thing that I did a while ago, I had a very good friend. I have a very good friend, but he no longer lives in San Pedro. But I used to play him, a good drummer, and he had his own studio in his house, and he turned his garage into a recording studio. And he wanted to play, but I was getting I said, "Man, I just don't want to drive all the way." He had a grand piano. I just don't want to go there, play standards and this and all this. I'm doing so many gigs. It was a long drive, and it was just we get together, maybe miscellaneous bass players and everything. And he said, "Well, let's try something different." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I have a great bass player coming in." I said, "Okay." I went in there and I said, "Why don't we just play? Just play anything. It doesn't matter." And it was like, for me, it was just like us three. We were made for each other, And it just started, all said and done. At the end, we ended up with about 90 hours of music, and it was just free improvisation. We didn't talk about anything. We just played, and the bass player was fantastic. The drums, everything. And so we decided to call the group, my idea, Aligraya. It's Aligraya, which is a combination of all of our names put together, And it is on, I believe it is on YouTube. There were some CDs that he made, but most of it is on YouTube. So it's really different, and I had a good time doing that. I guess one last story that's memorable for me was I had this gig with 5 horns. I don't know whose gig it was, in the rhythm section, for somebody's birthday party in a big room downtown LA. It is a famous room, but I forget the name now. Anyway, so we were put on a stage, and they had a baby grand piano for me. It was placed against the wall, and I was playing, and I had the entire band back to me, So, but there were charts, and there was like the top horn players of LA was in the section. So we're playing great arrangements. The party starts, and it's fantastic, just really great rhythm section. We play a couple of tunes, and all of a sudden, the horn starts getting bad and weird, and the drummer's losing time, and I'm going, is it me? Just like, what's going on? I just can't figure out what's going on, and it just progressively gets worse. So, man, what's going on? What's going on? And I look back. This guy, the birthday boy, had hired strippers, and the only way the strippers could get onto the floor was come through the stage. So I look over, I see about 3-4 women on G's topless and G-string walking over the horn section, and these guys are, I guess, lost their concentration. That was another memorable one. There was also backing up a rap singer. It was a rhythm section with some percussion instruments, and I really enjoyed that too. We did a few shows, and it was really good playing, for me, and I could really stretch. I could really do a lot of things. It just worked. Unfortunately, the rap singer just disappeared, never to be heard from again. So that was the end of that. But I haven't got involved in any other rap events, which I enjoy. When I back in New York, one day I left the studio. It wasn't that late, but it was nighttime. I'm walking home on Upper West Side. 2 couples stopped me, and I realized they're tourists. They're from Eastern Europe. They stopped me and they go, "Hey, how's that jazz piano going?" I'm going, "Who are these people?" And I haven't played this. I go, "Oh yeah, boy, yeah, it's great." I don't know who they are. And then they go, "Oh, you're just such a magnificent player. You're this, you're that." I'm going, "Oh, wow, thank you. And then they go, and I said, "Well, did you?" And I figured, well, there's no way they heard me in New York. And I said, "Well, did you?" I mean, I had done a few gigs in Boston. "So you're from Boston?" He goes, "Well, we've been there, but you concert in Prague, you concert in Belgrade, you concert in Athens." I played on those places but at that time, I had some of those places I hadn't even been. I'm going, okay, what's going on here? I go, "Well, thank you, yeah, and we left. And I went home, woke up the next morning, and said, "What was that all about?" I just did it. It just kind of like, it stayed with me. I said, "What was that?" Okay. That was it. I forgot about it. Came to LA, and especially in the beginning when I first started playing, a lot of people are coming up to me, telling me, "Hey, what's up, Milcho?" It was a Bulgarian pianist, Milcho Leviev, who played became famous with the Don Ellis Band. I'd only seen the Don Ellis Band on TV, PBS, but I didn't pay attention to the piano player. I didn't know. They kept telling me, "You're a spitting image of him. You look just like him." And I did a research on the guy. He was born like in December 16 or 19 in 1930. He was exactly 10 years older than me. One night I'm home in LA and watching television in this PBS, and I see this piano player playing with Art Pepper or Art Farmer, one of them. And I look at him, I go, "I don't remember playing with this guy. When did I do this?" And I'm looking, Jesus Christ, this is me, and really, literally. And not only that, and then I put the two. I said, "Oh, it's got to be this guy. It's got to be this guy." And I'm looking at it, and he's wearing. I used to wear particular turtlenecks at the time. He's wearing the same turtleneck, almost the same color that I'm going, "This is incredible," And I said, "Well, too bad. It's not me. I wish it was, but it wasn't." And years later, and then I figured out a lot of people, to this day, even, actually, I play at this swap meet in Melrose and Fairfax on Sundays. couple of weeks ago, this woman came up to me because Milcho had just had passed away maybe a few months ago, and who moved to Greece, by the way. He had a girlfriend there. He lived in Piraeus, I believe, and so Greece is coming up a lot in this interview. Anyway, this woman said, in fact, he asked me, he goes, "Did you know Milcho?" I go, "Yeah, I did, you know." So I guess, why would so just come up? I mean, she knew, obviously. And I'm saying, now that he's dead, all of a sudden somebody's going to go up and go, "Ah!" You know? I thought you were dead. Anyway, but, and then finally, a friend of mine set up a meeting. He had a concert here, and he had a rehearsal with his big band near the airport in one of the hotels. And he said, "You got to come and meet him." And I said, "You know what? I should," because all the joke was that I was going to get a little coffee stir while I was living in the valley, knock on the store, and go, "Excuse me, Milcho, stick out your tongue for a DNA sample," you know. So I said, "Sure." So I went to this rehearsal. He's rehearsing there. He's got a Rhodes. I think he was sponsoring the you know. The Rhodes, that particular model, in front of the band, and it's conducting the band. Great arrangements, best players in town, and so I'm sitting in the back, you know, and they finish. You know, I go up, you know, I'm kind of like waiting, and he's talking to people, and I know a lot of the guys in the band. They go, "Hey, Milch, you know, he's looking. And all of a sudden, he had never seen me before. I hadn't seen each other before. He didn't look like me as later on in life, but at one point, it was just split an image. And he looks at me, he goes, "What the fuck?" You know, "Who's this guy?" You know? And then we really hit it off. We spoke. I mean, he stopped, and the band left. We spoke for about an hour there, you know, just exchanging stories and everything. And but at one point, when they were some of the members of the band were leaving, the piano was there. He goes, Milch, you gotta hear him play. He's good. You gotta hear him play." And Milcho looks at them. He goes, "I don't need to hear him play. I know he's good. Look at him." That was a very fun experience. But you know, during the Ottoman Empire, there's a saying. You know, my father's father was in exile. He went to Bulgaria, Romania back in the day, and I was go, he is from Bulgaria, you know, Milcho. So I try to do some math. I had some people help me, and the years don't match. But I wonder, it's just too eerie, you know. I mean. There was a picture of him on the internet. Literally one day I went to I was playing with a lot of musicians. I was that they knew him, so I go, "What do you think of my latest shot?" They go, "Oh yeah, look, you know, they have they can't distinguish. They think it's me, you know." So that was an era. I was. Any questions you want to ask me? I didn't let you speak at all.
It's fine.
Nikki?
You're answering all my questions. you kind of answered most of them, but I was just gonna say, continuing on after that. So you've pretty much been gigging since then?
I've been. Have
you done any film or anything like that?
I have done. No, when I first came to LA, I have done one film. I don't know what happened to it. I haven't heard anything. Oh, talk about a film. There is one, hopefully maybe you can incorporate it into this interview. Back in New York, back in the day, I worked with this really famous photographer, underground photographer from New York. His name was Robert Mapplethorpe. And I did he had this 6-7 minute video. He didn't really work on video, but it was mostly still shots. He was brilliant, and but he was very underground, you know. So almost kind of like X-rated his original, really great guy, and he did this video with this first bodybuilding champion, woman bodybuilding champion, from L.A., I believe, and he went into this courthouse in Brooklyn or Bronx or something on a weekend, and he just shot her, and he needed music. So I had worked with a DP on one of the previous features that I had done. So she knew my work 'cause she recommended me, and I went and met him. So I had the film. So I wrote the music, and went back to his house, presented it, and this is very rare. It just doesn't happen very often. And point blank, he just didn't like what I wrote. He just goes, just let not. And usually when that happens, that's it. Someone else gets the job. I mean, that's it. You're done. But he said, I believe that you can do it. But that's not really what I wanted. He started talking about it and everything. I said, okay, yeah, you'll do it. Just write something else. Bring it back to me. I said, oh, okay. And then I wrote something, and he loved it. And definitely, there's a documentary on him on HBO, and there's a clip of the videos in there. So that was pretty good for me. At the time, it was in the early '80s. When you hear it, you'll hear all that era synthesizer sounds. They're all generic sounds. But even though it was just keyboards that I played, I used one soprano saxophone live on it. A friend of mine from Berklee. But even then, I had to hire this piano player to play it for me. I just didn't have at the time. I didn't have the guts to play the parts myself. And this guy was a really good piano player. I'd written everything out, so he did a magnificent job. but presently I'm. I also there was another group that I worked with here. It was kind of interesting only because this was a group that moved to LA from Detroit. They came as a group, and this guy was a poet, and he recited poetry, and there was background music while he was reciting poetry. It was almost like the old beatnik days in the village, in the 50s, but more modern, of course. And I got a call from this guy one day. He goes, well, we did a piano player. I said, well, you grew up. He goes, what happened to your piano player? He goes, well, we were playing. Then we moved to LA. We were playing, and we had a set break. And he left for a break and never came back. And well, I mean, did you? No, we don't know where he is. There's no way of finding him. We haven't heard from him. Just like he left. I said, okay. And I joined this group. I had a really good time with them. We have a CD. We had a CD. It was the group was called Code Zero, Frequency of Nothing, or something like that.
The Balls Blues. Like need even a party in the holla. Seb is blue, y'all. Come on, Jenkins.
Serpent tongue, kiss my lips and I will sing my grandmother's hum. Watch my hips and I will take you on a carpet ride through the center of my spine. Make my kundalini cry. I might return if you call upon the serpent tongue. Kiss my lips and I will sing with my grandmother's hum. Watch my hips and I will take you on a carpet ride through the center of my thighs. Make my kundalini cry.
So that group was very, unfortunately, the leader, who I admired dearly, passed away too. And I'm also, there was a moment here. Another thing that I got into after I got to LA was I was more exposed to, I should have been more exposed in New York because of the Puerto Rican influence, but it somehow passed me by, was Latin music. And one time I went to play with this conga player from Dominican Republic, and we're trying to do, and he called me up. He said, I just can't use you in my group. You just like, I know you can do it, but you don't really have the Latin stuff done. I said, oh wow, yeah. And then he hit me. I said, I got to practice. So so I bit by bit, I started practicing it. At one time, this guy, he had a hand injury or something. He was rehearsing with a Latin band at the Union. He goes, listen, I'm going to be there, but do you want to come and play? I said, well, I don't know about, come on. And then I'll never forget, he was a good Latin piano player. And he said, wait a minute. Before we said, he said, I started playing a little bit. He's there looking at the chart. It was a big band, all Latin. So he said, come downstairs. There was in the old Union, there was a basement with a couple of grand pianos, We went down there. I said, this guy made a demonstration for me for about maybe 5-7 minutes on Montunos and stuff. I couldn't have, it's like I couldn't have couldn't have done it better. If I went to a Latin music school, did 5 years of graduate study, I mean, I learned so much within that 10 minutes. I just by watching him, things just clicked. It was incredible. He was just showing me what he did. And I could watch his fingers. Just on that premise, I started getting better and better at it. So I do play with Latin groups right now, and in fact, I believe you're in one of them. The funny thing is, one of our leaders, he's from El Paso. He introduces himself. He's from North Mexico, and when he introduces the band, he'll introduce everybody's name, saying from Torrance, Mexico, East LA, Mexico, West LA, Mexico, and then when it comes to me, here's Cengiz. He's from Istanbul, Mexico. Anyway. So that's and that's I play with a few other Latin bands too, which I really enjoy. Playing Latin music. I love playing Martini and stuff. It's so rhythmic. It's so great. Also, I'm in 4 different big bands right now, and I'm playing with 4 different big bands. They don't work all the time, but they play regularly, and rehearsal bands, And one of them is once a week, one of them is once a month, the other one is twice a month, and the other one is like intermittent gigs here and there. And one of them is like more recent arrangements, and some of them are very, cow bassy-ish, the kind of an approach, which is, good practice. It's good, I mean, I love the music, and I love playing it. So it gives me a chance to interpret different kind of styles,
If your swing has been too dreamy and you like your sax so steamy, that's when you should come to see me. I've got swing for sale.
I can't give you anything but love, baby. Baby, baby, look like it's gonna hail. Baby, baby, look like it's gonna hail. You better come inside, let me teach you how to jive and wail.
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never winked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light.
Somewhere there's music, how faint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, how high the moon.
On the keyboard, our Turkish delight, Mr. Cengiz Yaltkaya. Go ahead, let's hear it for Cengiz. Cengiz Yaltkaya on the keyboard.
Back in the day, there was a band from New Zealand that I was trying to, back in New York, I was trying to get a deal for. They were playing on the streets. And I got very close, but it didn't happen. And the band disbanded, they went back to New Zealand. But one guy, the drummer stayed. And all of a sudden the drummer, years later, showed up in LA. You know, he showed up in one of my gigs. And I used to play, there was a lot of gigs in Borders bookstores at the time. You know, I used to play, he showed up in one of them. And he started kind of like a rock group. And with two good singers and a great guitar player, a bass player. And I started playing keys with them. And it was a good group. You know, it was a good group. We got quite a bit of gigs.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby, just call my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Don't have to humble yourself to me. I ain't your judge or your king. Baby, you know I ain't no queen of Sheba. We may not even have our dignity. This'll just be a powerful thing. Baby, we can choose, you know we ain't no amoeba. Are you ready for the thing called love? Don't come from me or you, it comes from up above. I ain't no porcupine, take off your kid glove. Are you ready for the thing called love? I ain't no icon carved out of soap, sent here to clean up your reputation. Baby, you know you ain't no Prince Charming. We can live in fear or act out of hope, some kind of peaceful situation. Baby, how come a cry of love is so alarming?
Everybody went someplace. I think the guitar player ended up playing with Leonard Cohen, and the drummer moved back to New York. So the group broke up. But while that was going on, that was very good. It was just playing just rock, you know. This is it, you know. It's just It's been I guess, how long did I yak for?
It's been like an hour and
An hour?
20 minutes maybe. I don't know.
Oh
I can
my
tell you
God.
right now. You still have time though. There's still 2 more hours. It's been an hour and 10.
An hour and 10. That's
Not
okay.
too long.
Yeah.
We
All right.
still have time.
Well, I don't know what else to talk about. You know, I'm just, I'm not dead yet. Maybe we'll do another one next year.
Well, I was just thinking maybe I had a couple other questions maybe you kind of touched on, but so like when you started gigging, you had around like 200 gigs? Like,
yeah.
How much do you have now? Are you busier or less or?
Okay,
I know
last
you're really
year,
busy now,
actually,
but-
I do count my gigs. I'm a maniac.
Good,
I
I'm
do.
curious.
And 2019, I did 284 gigs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because some
And
days you do like multiple gigs a day, right?
I do, well, Sundays is pretty much straight. I do 3 gigs on Sundays. That's set.
And that's all in town, right? In
Pretty much in town, or Claremont, like where,
Yeah.
or,
You drive though, right?
I drive everywhere, unfortunately. I'm not famous enough to have my own driver or my own roadie.
And your
No-
center base, your home base is right
I
here,
live in
right?
West Hollywood.
Just to
and
clarify.
I have been ever since I moved to LA. I'm still in the same place that ever since 1995, and today is what? January 26th? No, 27th, 2020, yeah. And it's funny. I play with this big band. The bass player is a really good friend of mine, great bass player, young guy, and we always compare notes because when I told him that I count on my gigs, he goes, "I will too," and he started, and we always compare notes. Last year he did 318.
You need to learn bass.
Yeah. And actually, the most I've done was I really wanted to do 365.
Yeah, one a day.
Yeah, and I think my record is like 340 or something like that. I couldn't make it because I only heard that Poncho Sanchez has gigs. He's gonna gig every day. I mean that's what it comes to, and he's like that all the time. Or he gigs every day, or maybe 2 a day. But I mean that's his number. I read that someplace, but it's a funny story about Poncho Sanchez. I was called to do a session with him. They had a tres player coming in, and the guy bailed, and it was being recorded at the Crossroads on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. I live very nearby there. Again, this vibraphone player friend of mine called me up. He said, "Can you come over?" I said, "Okay," and I at the time, it was a while ago, I still wasn't as strong as I am now with the Latin playing. I just, okay, you know what? I'm not going to turn this down, hey. I went there and sat in, we were recording, and his rhythm section is, he's got congas, timbales, they're playing. They started playing, and I'm supposed to join them, with the Martini. And for the life of me, I cannot find one. The way they're playing it, I'm like so confused, and I'm nervous too because I'm in the recording studio, like at the grand piano. It's just huge people in the control room, and I'm going, oh my God, it goes no, and now people started telling me but it's the 16. No, but when the dot is 16, no, you have to divide it by the. The more they explain to me, it's worse. I don't know what to do. All of a sudden, the trombone player comes up. He did something to me. I just, I just feel it like, I went, just the way he moved. I think I get it. Do it again. And I got it. And I was about to say, why don't I just sit this one out and I'll overdub my part, which I didn't really want to say, but that was my last resort. And I got the part. And I was so happy.
Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily,
finished the track, I went up to the guy and I said, I was so emotional. I just said, "Oh, thank you so much. You know, you saved my blah 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 blah." Mistake. Don't over compliment a musician. So the second tune was, Poncho wasn't involved. It was a miscellaneous artists. It was like we're backing up a singer. It was a straight 4/4 medium jazz tune, simple changes, and I'm playing, no problem. And all of a sudden, I feel this presence behind me. You know, I'm playing, and it's this guy that I complimented, and he's going, "No, I think you should play it this way. You should put." And all of a sudden, the guy became my guru, and I can't get rid of him.
All day, all night with Marianne, down by the seaside sifting sand. And all the little children love Marianne, down by the seaside sifting sand.
About sitting in, there is one time I said no. I got too scared to sit in at an event, and I still regret to this day. Even if I was thrown out, I would have done it. It was back in late 60s. There was on Bleecker Street, there was a club called Whiskey A Go Go. Whiskey A Go Go or something like that. You went downstairs. And I used to listen to, I used to go there to hear Paul Butterfield Blues Band and the Electric Flag. They used to play there all the time. One time I went to see Electric Flag, and Mike Bloomfield was, of course, the lead guitarist of that band, with Buddy Miles and Harvey Brooks, Harvey Brooks who played on Bitches Brew with Miles Davis. Anyway, so the club closed, it was done. All of a sudden, in comes Jimi Hendrix. You know, he's just hanging out, you know. So they're kind of playing around in my foot. "Hey, man, you want to?" He goes, Jimi Hendrix. He goes, "Yeah, sure." You know, he just goes up on stage, and they start battling, you know, taking guitar solos back and forth, rhythm section. And there's a Hammond B3 there, and nobody's playing. At one point, there's only few people left, and I mean, everybody thought it was over. You know, we just kind of hung out, and there were about 5-10 people in the club. And my goes, Does anybody know how to play the keys? And my friends are going, go! And I'm going, no. First of all, I guess it was B3. I didn't know. And I really had, back then, it was like in the beginning, I say, wait a minute, man. These guys are going to play everything in E. I don't know if I can play an E in the keyboard. And if I don't, these guys are going to kill me. They might beat me up. And I never went up. I never did. But I'm saying now in retrospect, when I look back, what the hell? I could have maybe played a couple of notes and say, "Hey, I played with Jimi Hendrix," you know. Never happened.
So, you, I guess since these past like 25 years, you pretty much are about. Yeah, I guess it's been 25 years. You've always been in town. You haven't really. Have you been back to Turkey in a while? Or
yeah, actually, I do have a CD out called AK Steps Out. It's a trio CD. They're all my compositions, and that group, I took a bass player and a drummer with me from here, and I did small tour of Turkey. Somebody sponsored it for me, and I played it about 4 nights in Istanbul at a really good club. And I played a place called Kuşadası, Izmir, and Antalya Jazz Festival down south. And after, and we were playing all this pretty much all the time, so we were ready. So when we came back, I recorded it right away, and I have the CD out. And hopefully, when at the end of this interview, you will play the title track as I'm fading away. I played in most Eastern European countries. I played a lot in Europe. I played in Europe, excluding England, Spain, and Italy, pretty much. I played everywhere. I played in Morocco. I played in Jordan, and I played in Cuba. You know, that's another place. When I didn't play Latin, I was there with the jazz quartet. But something about just being in Cuba, I didn't play, but it really did something to me. It's just like I really realized the culture of the music, you know, and there's so much music there. But it's not just playing; it's just the culture, the feel of it, you know. It just like I always respected it, but it's even more. I respect it even more now. I mean, they're just like so. It's gorgeous the way it is. So it really affected. I believe it affected my playing, you know. I'm definitely, I don't consider myself a Latin jazz player. I'm definitely not a Cuban playing Cuban, but I play Cuban and Puerto Rican music with an accent, you know. That's what I say, you know. Back in the day in New York, the most in-demand piano player was a Jewish guy from Brooklyn. You know, he just had it down. You know, he was the first call for all the gigs. So yeah, and with Jordan, I was just. There, I played 2 events, which I was invited to, and it was just the budget. Because of the budget reason, I just took a bass player here with me, and it was just piano and bass.
So how many compositions do you have in your portfolio at home? Have you written a lot, or are you focused more on...
I can't say I have written a lot, but there are so many different. I mean, I have done, you know.
Because you've done a lot of things with strings, in all these different projects. But
I do. I actually the best. I mean, I couldn't really count them out right now, but I do have a website. It is www.jazzkaya.com. Jazz as in jazz. It's one word, and Kaya is the last 4 letters of my last name. So it's all documented there. A friend of mine did a great service for me and put all this together. And he keeps updating it, you know. And whenever I do new things, all the CDs I worked on is there, and all the compositions, all the movie scores, I did a lot of theater work. I wrote a lot for theater music, you know, especially back in New York, and musical theater. So they're all there. It's just, you know, they're great at doing all that stuff, but, you know, it's like theater music, musical theater, it's just movies, you know, it's just music is so secondary. When you sit down and when I actually talk, you know, when you're doing the big picture, you're talking to all these people, it's just like, bring the music down. It's almost like playing at a restaurant, you know, it goes, tell the band to quiet down. We can't hear ourselves speak, you know. Or the waiter, I can't take the order. Lower. The same thing. It's I mean, considering, I mean, there aren't that, you know, I should thank my lucky stars. I mean, considering there aren't that many gigs around, you know, people, you know, don't gig, and I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. It's just that I feel that I've been here long enough. I have enough contacts, and people call me back, you know, right? Yeah.
So it seems like just over your whole career listening to it, what's allowed you in some ways to succeed has been embracing the change. Like you've embraced the, you know, each thing as it's come along with you, like in arranging for strings, more recently gigging, and then at the beginning, I guess, just really practicing a lot. So
right, yeah.
I just think that's kind of something that you've touched upon, and maybe you can just see how you keep on, if you picture continuing down the same route or doing something else, but it seems like you've always been adapting, and that seems like a good lesson for us all to learn, you know.
Yeah, me. I don't know. Maybe next year I'll become a rocket scientist for NASA. I know.
You never know.
But actually, it's interesting you said that because I think it's part of my personality, which is I don't know if it's that good. It's like basically going out looking for really hustling, desperately, which I did, and somehow it didn't work for me. I want to do this. I want to call this person, call that person, get an interview, get this thing. All of a sudden, okay, relax, sit down, take a nap, wake up, wait for the phone to ring. I mean, the phone didn't necessarily have to ring. I mean, I'm lucky and fortunate that the phone rings. It's like, that's an early. The old timers always say that. Are you working? Well, the phone is not ringing. That's an old timers talking about. It's part of their conversation. So far, knock on wood, I've been fortunate that this is happening. But like I said, I play with enough people, enough variety of people, different people that they am fortunate enough to get a call back.
And that's because what it seems like you embrace the variety too, which is.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I absolutely do.
I must say that helps a lot. Some people, it seems like they just want to do one thing and that only one style, and it's good, but some ways it's limiting the audience and the opportunities they have to play as well.
Melodies, the sweetest music ever played. Autumn kisses we knew, our beautiful souvenirs. As I pause to recall, the leaves seem to fall like tears. Silver stars were clinging to
Day by day I'm falling more in love with you, and day by day my love seems to grow. There isn't any end to my devotion. It's deeper, dear, by far than any ocean. I find that day by day you're making all my dreams come true. So come what may, I want you to know, yes, I'm yours alone. I'm in love to stay as we go through the years day by day. My heart should be well schooled, 'cause I've been fooled in the past, and still I fall in love too easily. I fall in love too fast.
I'll never forget one time I was playing, I don't know where, maybe it was back in Boston or New York or something. I was learning all these like fancy voicings at Berklee. A blues band hired me to play with them, and it was like a 1-4-5 blues band, hardcore, and I was there. Wait till they hear what I got, I was playing all these fancy voices. I got fired, man. They just didn't want to hear it. And you know what? In retrospect, when I hear it, it just didn't work. I mean, it didn't sound right, it was just like so contrived, and you just play the basics, and make the most of it,
I'm a dirty dancer, baby, but only for my maid. I'm a dirty dancer, baby, but only for my maid. I can do anything she can do. Let me show you that I can.
I'm just kind of curious, who are you kind of listening to right now, like in terms of pianist, or like, I think I saw you, or you're mentioning something about like Chick Corea or Herbie, and just who else you're interested in?
Well, I mean, my first heroes are, of course, initially it's Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, and Keith Jarrett, and then Joe Zawinul as well. I mean, I've been following him quite early on, only because he was the non-American one, and he was played with major jazz. We started off with Cannonball, and so I was always very, very interested in him. So later on, I started listening to Brad Meldau. He's got really good stuff, and some of my piano students, they when I go there, like the beginning of the lessons, they show me what they're watching. So I see they show me a lot of pianos. Some of them I don't even know, never even heard of. But boy, they're all good. They're all good. They really are. And just recently, with my friend whose house we're sitting at right now, recently he was. I was glad that he took me to a Chick Corea concert. It was just with Brian Blade and the famous bass
Christian
player.
McBride?
Christian McBride. Yeah, it was just fantastic. And I saw you there too.
Yeah,
I ran into you there. Yeah,
I remember
right.
seeing
Yeah.
you there. It's
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, and that was a great concert.
Great
I remember it was fantastic. I mean, it's just.
And he's so young too, Chick Corea.
I know. Yeah. I mean, he's as good. You know, I'll never forget. Back in New York again, late '60s. I wanted to see Miles Davis. I hadn't seen him live. Well, finally, Miles Davis comes to the Village Gate. It's a big room. It's a downstairs room, and I'm gonna get to see Herbie Hancock. You know, I go down, and here's the, it's a great band. Wayne Shorter. And all of a sudden I see this young white guy with a mustache and John Lennon glasses playing piano, and I'm going, who the hell is that? And I didn't catch his name, but I knew it wasn't Herbie Hancock, and it sounded pretty good. I'm going, okay, whatever, and I left. Weeks later, I'm walking around the downtown campus in NYU. This particular guy that I told you that my age could play bebop piano, everything. It was the jazz piano player of the NYU ensemble. And he's walking around with this album. And he goes, check this out, man. It just came out. And I look at him and I go, hey, that's the guy that I saw with Miles Davis. It was, the album was Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. And it had just come out. It was Chick Corea's album. I said, whoa, I guess that's the guy.
How have you seen the scene change? Do you think technology has made things better or worse? Or is it still people wanting to hear music? Or
well,
what do you think?
Well,
from your opinion and what you see.
Well, there are a lot of DJs getting work. That's for sure. That kills the live music. And in fact, I remember in Claremont area, at Scripps College, I did a gig with a jazz quintet, really good band, and we were doing like the early evening part, and that was what we was hired for. And we were finished. The place was packed. I guess it was the graduation or something. And I remember as we were packing, this MC came up and made a big announcement. He goes, all right, everybody, get ready for some real music. And when I heard that, I thought it was going to be some super band coming in. So who are these guys? I'm going to see them, And out comes this DJ. And I remember our bass player really going to the MC, just like letting him have it, for that comment. But there you go. The good part of the technology is that everybody having their phones. I know some diehards who like to memorize everything they play by memory. They're against it. I understand that. But the fact that everybody has their, instead of carrying books, pieces of paper, everybody's got their music on a phone. You're trying to, some tune is suddenly going to hold on a second, they find it, and that's pretty good. Convenient. Unless I don't know, your battery runs out or something. But in terms of also I'm finding out lately, maybe I didn't pay enough attention, but lately as I'm getting older, I'm finding out there's a lot of people in LA, I guess everywhere else too, but I know for a fact in LA that a lot of musicians, good musicians that have day jobs, they really don't mind playing places for free. They're totally okay with that. I understand that, but you see, for a guy like me, that's not good. I was playing with a quartet at a place, small amount of money, regularly, and all of a sudden these bands started playing there for free, and the club owner said, well, I don't blame the club owner. I get a band like that for free. Why should I pay you? So that's pretty bad. For guys that try to make a living, doing this. So that's another change. I think it's really, really picking up, because I am getting, they stopped because I guess they got the message. I am getting a lot of calls for those kind of gigs. But I got a call one day. It's, we're playing at this restaurant, but you know what? We're not getting paid, but you get half price on dinner. Really? Wow. I'm there, and of course I will pay for free for somebody who's employed me for a long time, that I help out, so a friend of mine, of course I'll do that, as a favor, but when the regular, no, never, I do, we at the musicians union and other places, I do rehearse with a lot of big bands. Of course, there's no pay on that, but it's that's something else. We eventually get gigs with those bands, you know. That's not a gig, you know. So those are some of the changes I can, and a friend of mine said, "How much are you making at this gig?" And I tell him, and he goes, "Weren't you making that like 15 years ago?" He goes, "Man, even the price of salt went up." So, you know, that's another, not a good piece of information. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest battle is the DJs at this point in time, you know. There's a lot of places that hire DJs, you know.
So maybe you could tell me about your current project with the Jazz Channel and about how long.
Yeah,
that's been
a
going
good friend of mine, Joseph. He is he's got this website. It's called jazzchannella.com, and actually mostly all local LA musicians we get together. It's usually a quintet, 2 horns, piano, guitar, bass, and drums. So I guess sextet, and he's got a very elaborate, good book, and we everyone picks a tune out of the book, and we play it. And he's got 9 cameras in his room, and he videotapes us, and he works very hard. He works hours. This guy. You should see this. You should see the site. I mean, the mixes sound great. It looks great. You know, he spends a long time working on this stuff. So I visit the place frequently, and I'm on a whole bunch of videos, which I recommend you check out. And one of the latest ones that I'm on is a Don Grolnick tune called "Nothing Personal," and I'm very happy with my solo on that last video. Before I sign off, I would like to thank you, my friend, colleague, Mickey Casillas, and for making this possible for me. I would like to thank my friend, my dear old friend, Cem Çetindiş, for the usage of his piano, his great artwork, he does himself, and his wife Renee as well. And the usage of his grand piano. And I have to go now because I have a gig.